All right, everyone. Welcome back to From Within She Rises. Today, we are going to be talking about an archetype that doesn't belong to just one world, an archetype that lives between seasons on the threshold space, that in between innocence and knowing, between descent and returning. And you may have already guessed, but we're going to be talking about Persephone. And today I'm bringing in a beautiful guest. Her name is Lacey, and we'll introduce you to her in a second. But before, as always, we're just going to drop into the body. So if it feels good to do so, you can close your eyes or just soften your gaze. And just notice the rise and the fall of your chest, of your belly. With each exhale, just releasing any tension that you're carrying from the day. And now feeling into the heart center. And I invite you to let your heart lead during this beautiful conversation. As always, I invite you to use your discernment to take what resonates and just leave what doesn't. Coming back into the room, let's get started on this beautiful conversation. And this is not just a mythology episode. It's fun. We're going to have, it's an awakening episode too, I think. But I'm going to start with letting Lacey tell us just a little bit about herself.
Okay, hi. So I'm Lacey. I am a mother of six. I always like to lead with that because it goes into what I do for a living, which is a doula, and a birth
Mm,
worker. Um, I am a stay-at-home mom. Other than that, so
mm,
I'm with my kids a lot, and you know how that is. All the moms out there, it's like kind of goes into what we're going to talk about today. Every single aspect of being a mother. I mean, birth,
mm,
relationships, that's kinda all the things that, I embody I try to put myself out there on my platform and talk about my relationship because it's taught me a lot. It's one of my biggest
mhm.
teachers, and then motherhood. So, yeah, that's basically, in a nutshell what I do. I really love home birth environments. I work with a midwife who does that, and it's just a really lovely it's a really lovely environment to have your baby at home. I'm not gonna try to convince everybody
Yeah.
to do that, but it's,
I
definitely
wish I had had one at least that way.
I know, it's really just a total difference from the hospital environment, like, because birth
Mm,
is really 100% like a death. Like, it is a
yeah.
death and a rebirth of ourselves,
Yeah.
so it goes along with what we're talking about as well. Um,
Yeah,
and,
you
I
literally are embodying and living and walking women through that threshold every day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely incredible. So, and I feel like with home birth, you're able to feel your body more. You're able, you're away from all the
Mm,
medicine and, numbing
yeah,
birth out. So it's, you have no way out but really through, whenever you're,
presence.
yeah.
Presence and through, yes.
I
My
mean,
if it
yeah.
I didn't have any drugs with my 3rd, actually, it just happened I woke up and was in labor, and
Mhm.
85 minutes later, I was holding her.
Oh,
I literally
wow.
didn't
Yeah.
have time for
Fast.
anything. I didn't even have time to I got there, and I was, like, screaming, and they're like, "Are you okay?" Like, "I'm not," and then they go to try and take my blood pressure even, and they go in and check, and they're like, "Oh, you're fully dilated, well, let's just take this baby out."
Those are
So,
honestly the best hospital births though, because you don't have time to
yeah,
to worry about
I did
the
not have
interventions.
time. So
Right.
we could maybe count that as kind of a home birth. It just was in a hospital
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unmedicated, you still get a trophy. Like,
I literally didn't have a chance to think or react. I would love to have a
Mhm.
home birth though. Like
Yeah,
I don't want to have any more children though. I think 4 is my limit. You're a brave woman for
mhm,
having the extra 2. I think there's
yeah.
a moment of like my last 2 here are giving and I can see it. I think at this level of zoomed out awareness, I'm like,
Mhm.
these two are trying to tell my husband to do something and he's not listening. They're like definitely mirrors of him. And I'm like, oh, this is
Mhm.
just so much that I'm like, I can't even add another into the equation. There's no way. Not
I know,
until he's
I
willing to
feel
be
you.
like, oh, is that a little me? Oh, okay. Maybe I need to hold
Mhm.
this little part of me.
Right. Man, do they show you, like, what you need to see, your kids, like, it's crazy.
Your
It is
kids, your spouses,
yes.
yeah, it's all
Yeah,
hard to ignore, I would say.
it really is. Yeah, I agree.
Although my husband's doing a very good job, I would say at this point. He's doing a good job of ignoring the little hymns in front of him.
Yeah,
They're
we
so cute.
they are. My husband got a vasectomy because we were like, "We're good. We've got 3 boys and 3 girls," and he saw what I've gone through,
Yeah,
so he's like, "Okay, I'll" yeah.
that's the safest choice.
Right, right, so we're happy
Safest
with
choice.
what we have.
I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you really are you're, like, living the Persephone life
I
as a
feel that.
mother, as a doula.
Mhm.
Yes.
I do, I feel that, yeah.
So maybe
Um,
let's get into who the heck Persephone is before we
yeah.
get into what she does as an archetype in our lives.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
to me, she's the maiden for sure.
Mhm.
Maiden energy. If you don't
Mhm.
know, she's the daughter of Demeter.
Mhm.
And she
Yes.
represents like spring and she represents innocence. She represents, the innocent maiden. She really does. Until
Yeah.
she isn't any. She can't be anymore.
Mhm.
That's what
Yeah.
she is. And I'm not to say I think it's like not naive. It's just you're not initiated yet. You're still
Yeah.
blissfully happy, moving around, like unaware of what's really going down. I think it's like all of us, really. I think
Mhm.
Persephone is all of us before we
She
really
is.
are like, oh, wait, there's something way more under all of this. And I've just been ignoring all of it.
Yeah.
So her big initiation is she gets taken by Hades
Mhm.
and she gets taken to the underworld.
Mhm.
And to me, the underworld is not it's not evil, it's not punishment, but it's that depth. It's the unconscious is how I
Right.
like to see it. It's our
Mhm.
unconscious material that we're not willing to look at. If we're looking at
Mhm.
how this translates over into our everyday lives, I feel
Yeah.
like Hades in the underworld is like, "Oh, now I'm gonna make you look at." It's like the day in the future one day when my husband's like, "Oh, let me see why I'm reacting this way to this tiny little person that is triggering me."
Exactly. Mhm. Right.
It's being
I agree.
forced
Yeah,
into the unconscious.
for
Um,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So I've
And
done a lot of
it's
shadow
thrust.
work recently. Yeah,
Yes.
and that is something I've really realized in the last while is, I've gone on a spiritual awakening journey for the last 8-ish years, I would say. And then it's
Mm,
like at the beginning it didn't make sense to me. I kind of looked at the bad and the contrast as not. I
yeah.
would say it, right? I would be like, okay, the contrast
You would
is
understand it
good for
here.
us. Right, but now it is, like, in this integrative time of my life, I'm like, "Okay, I see now what it really means to
Mhm.
realize it's not bad, like, the shadow is the key.
Yeah.
It's the way
Yeah.
out of being stuck." So, yeah, that's kinda what got me on Persephone as well.
Yeah. And I think that and like her, I think a lot of times when you wake up, it's not a
Mhm.
choice. Like, it wasn't like she chose to be like, "Hey, Hades, can you take me down to the underworld?" She was taken,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's an
Yeah,
uncomfortable situation that's like, damn. When I
yeah.
look at my own awakening, I think of the fact that we were at home. My husband and I just didn't agree on certain things
Mhm.
politically. We'll just leave it at that. And we're not
Yeah,
even
I get
American,
that.
but
Uh-huh.
um we didn't agree on certain things, and so then we were, like, always fighting, and I was like, "I don't wanna feel this way anymore," and that's where, like, the shadow came in, and I was like, "I literally can't change him. I can't change his opinion. Let's go
Exactly.
in.
Yeah.
Let's go really deep in." So, I don't
Mhm.
know that it was a conscious choice, but I had to have that uncomfortable drag down into Hades, which was us fighting because, like, we've been together for almost 10 years and never
Mhm.
fight. and to
Right.
have like, I had to have that. That was my Hades moment, really. Do you feel like you know what your Hades moment was? Where it
My
really was like,
Hades
"Okay, you need to
yeah.
do some stuff."
Yes, girl. My Hades moment was with my husband and 8 years ago or 9.
God, it's always the
Um,
husband.
always the husband, yeah. I mean, we're good, we stuck out through it, but the beginning was an affair that he had. And I was
Mm,
attracting this pattern of people in my life cheating, and I had to
yeah.
realize at that point, like, okay, I've been attracting this. Like, I need to, I have nowhere to go. Like, I'm at rock
Mm,
bottom. I can only go up.
wow.
So I've just got to figure out why I'm attracting this. And, that's when we both kind of started like, okay, we got to unpack some
Mm,
trauma. And it's still like not easy. Like, it's still just eats at me sometimes. But I've learned now to be more
yeah.
like, this is just like part of it. We have
Mm,
I can let it go and I can just
yeah.
but it's all so weirdly been so needed. Like, it's so crazy to say, "Oh, my husband cheated on me." So it was so needed, like, but
Mhm.
in the most crazy way. It really has been what has allowed me to see what I see now. So that was
Yeah,
my
it's
moment.
interesting you say that. It's
Mhm.
interesting that you say that it was needed because I agree. I think, like, it is needed, and at the beginning of my journey, one of the knowings that came in was, I remember choosing this.
Mhm.
And it wasn't around my husband as a relationship, but it was around my ex as a relationship where we were together for a really long time. And it's also interesting because you said something that's like very mature. And I think it usually
Mhm.
does take a really long time to get to the
Yeah.
place where you're like, okay, I actually was calling that in. I was part of that.
Mhm.
And it took me a really long time to look back on this relationship that I would have called toxic. And I was like, well, I was a victim and like narcissism and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And now I look back and I'm like, I co-created that.
Right,
Okay.
right. Right. It
Yeah.
sucks to admit, but it really is you have to get to that point, and, I feel like that's a lot of people, like, we like to use the term narcissism, and I get it, like, some people really do have more narcissistic tendencies. I have been narcissistic at times, like,
Yeah.
um, and, Persephone is kinda in Hades, it's kinda that empath narcissist relationship. It's kinda like
Mm,
that, and so but it was so needed for her. Like, she needed that. She needed to travel to the depths of
of
basically
help.
hell and
Mhm.
just figure out herself so that spring
Yeah.
could come from that. So, yeah,
Exactly.
I know.
Yeah.
So, labeling people as a narcissist and things like that, I feel like we get too caught up in doing that instead of taking responsibility for, "Oh, well, but
It's
I'm calling
hard.
this." Yeah.
The radical responsibility is a hard one. I think that's
It's
like
so hard.
w what is almost like the cause of everything, I think, is disconnection from self and the divine, whatever you're calling it, source, creator, God, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Um, but I think a lot of like the world's problems that we see manifested physically are really coming down to the fact that we on a individual level and then it ripples down to all the way to collective don't want to take radical responsibility for shit.
Exactly. Mhm. It's like, what kind of diagnosis, psychiatric diagnosis can we get when I mean, and I've always felt I
Mm,
don't know, like, I'm not trying to take away from depression and, anxiety. I have bouts of it, but I feel
yeah.
like if we would all take responsibility and say, "Okay, it's not chronic, right? Like, let's
Mm,
feel through this." Sometimes just allow yourself to feel like shit or allow yourself to
yeah.
feel that through that anxiousness. And then it kind of lightens. And then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I can look within and say, where is this coming from? And like, if people would do that,
Mm.
it would be totally different in the world. It really would.
Exactly. It would be a different world. And I think
Hmm.
what I really wanna preach here is that on an individual level, like, we can't make people outside of us or governing bodies outside of us take responsibility, but we get to do that on a individual level and offer
Mhm.
that to people in our lives, and then that ripples out. I think we get
Right.
so overwhelmed by the fact that we're looking at all this stuff happening everywhere and we're like, "Oh my god, when is it gonna change? When is it gonna end?" Instead of
Mhm.
just being like, "Okay, come back home. How can
Mhm.
I treat my" because imagine if we all, maybe not all, but a lot of us, took that radical responsibility and let it ripple in our communities. It would make
Yeah,
such a huge impact. We're
it
really
would.
underestimating what we can do on an individual level because it's not just about us, it's about everyone we interact with.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. So, yeah,
Yeah.
my Hades moment was going back to
Was
what
your
we were
husband it's always a
was my
relationship
husband.
from we love them.
He's gonna be
They
like,
I'm He's gonna be like, "Why did you say that? It's okay, Jess said it too."
yeah, that's mostly how it goes with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Our relationships are huge mirrors. They are, and that's why people like it. I think it can kind of get turned into an identity, but you get really sucked into that idea of like a twin flame that is like meant to. But I really like reflecting back, I think that every relationship in my life could have attached that identity to because they really had a lesson to show me.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You could probably
Going
hear
back
my
to
kid screaming.
okay. I've got kids screaming all the time here. Um,
Yeah.
Going back to Persephone, when she is in Hades, she's not in Hades, hopefully. When she is in the underworld, she
Uh-huh.
has to eat pomegranate seeds to survive. What do you feel like that represents? To me, I feel like if it's almost like Genesis energy eating the apple. Like you eat the
Mhm,
truth
I
and you
know.
now have this choice of awakening. Now you have seen the thing and now you're like, I can't go back from this.
Right. I know. I don't like that's something I didn't really think about with the pomegranate seeds. I was kind of like, why? But that makes sense that you're saying that right now. Um, it's so weird how in so many different situations it's always like eating something. Like it's
Yeah.
like what?
Even in the book of Revelation too, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's the same thing. You eat the scroll and then it digests and it hurts in the belly. And I think that's the metaphor across all things is that you eat the thing, whether like you're taking in this new truth and now
Uh-huh.
it's not
Can
an
you
easy
digest
thing.
it?
You have to digest it. And in this case, it shows
Yeah.
us the cycle that you have to keep digesting it over and over and
Right.
over again.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense that she is like, okay, well, you're here now. Are you gonna be able to digest this entire because everything's super
Yeah.
literal, right? Like, I mean, I even feel like symptoms in the body, it's literal. It's,
Mm,
you're holding emotion in certain areas.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. That definitely brought something else up for me. Um,
Yeah.
to think
It
about
definitely,
the eating.
I think
Maybe
it
I
is
need to get pomegranate seeds in my tattoo now to
I
add that in.
definitely think you need to get some,
I need
yes.
to
We
have that.
actually this isn't a podcast episode, this is us planning her tattoo in front of all of you.
That's exactly true, and that's how we met. So, that's
Yeah.
how we reached out to each other.
You're like,
Yeah,
"I've got full sleeve, let's go. Let's get on a podcast episode and plan out your tattoo, Lacey." That
so
was
for
the plan
me,
all
with
along.
the because I have a skull, and I wanna do a skull, and I wanna do a serpent because I wanna do a
Mm.
serpent anyway because of the all of the symbolism from the serpent and,
There's so
like, the
much
rebirth.
beautiful symbolism. Yeah.
It's so much, and it's so crazy. It's been just demonized, like, literally,
Yeah.
forever. So I really want that, but I have to do the pomegranate seeds. Noted.
Yes, I think you do. I
Yeah.
think, like, to me, the moment it's always choice, right? You get to choose. Adam and Eve, they got to choose. Are they gonna bite the apple? They're gonna do the
Yeah.
thing. And she gets to choose. Am I gonna have the seeds or am I not? And I think that there's a moment there when you actually are like, okay, let's do this. I'm choosing this. Now she's becoming liminal. Like now she's living in this liminal space. And I think that
Okay.
we get confused because we think that there's always just going to be one ego death. And I've
Mhm.
talked about like the different stages or whatever of awareness, of awakening, however you want to call it. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like, that final non-duality, which I feel like for me is the final, but I mean, it could be something else past that, who knows? You're
Mhm.
always living in liminal. Like, you spend more time, I feel like the goal is to spend more time in the non-duality, in the
Mhm.
love, in
Yeah.
the embodiment of it, but you're always integrating. And throw in 4 kids, 6 kids, a couple husbands in
Right.
there, and you're always being asked, "Are you going to choose
Yeah.
to continue living from that space?" You're constantly back and forth in that. Like, I literally just feel like my life is straddling a fine line, especially I think we all have different gifts in
Mhm.
God divine. And as somebody who gets revelation, who just gets knowings coming in, like, and it can be overwhelming where I'm just getting like hours of boom, boom, boom. And I'm not even going into meditation. I don't even meditate anymore because I feel like I would die. It's just like fully awake. Oh, okay.
The
Um,
downloads that just
it
come in.
just
I feel
they're
that.
just coming in. So then
Mhm.
I feel like it's like I'm constantly living in this threshold where I'm like, "Okay, I'm up here getting all these downloads," but I'm, like, also with a foot on earth, and I'm like, "Okay, let me change your diaper. Let me go grab you
Right.
the carrot stick. So let me do," like, I'm constantly, like, and I'm literally changing poopy diapers while also having I remember one day I'm sitting there, it was the first moment
True.
where
Mhm.
I was staring at the mirror because my daughter's change table, the 2-year-old, is, like, right in front of a mirror. It's, like, in the little old antique dresser, and so I was
Mhm.
staring in the mirror, and this intrusive thought came in, and it was the first moment where I was like, "Whoa, that is not me. That I
Mhm.
am the awareness just witnessing these things and I get to choose." And it was like such a wild, embodied present moment while also
Wow.
wiping shit off my daughter's
Yeah.
butt.
Mine usually come through, like, when I'm talking about things. I'll talk to
Mm,
my mom a lot. My mom is somebody who,
yeah,
she's awesome, and she just
I
understands what
love
I'm
that.
saying, and she listens so well, and we agree, and,
Mm.
like, I feel like some of her downloads almost come through me. Like,
Oh,
it's
I
like we
love that.
share yeah, like, she'll be trying to say something, and then I'll say it, and we'll be like, "Yeah," and then she'll be like, "I got chills." I'm like, "Me too," you know? So,
Mhm.
a lot of mine come through, and then I get full body chills, and that's kinda my confirmation. I'm like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why this happened," and a lot of it comes back to religion. I was also,
Mm.
in going back to my story a bit, I was very much shoved into religion as a child, to the point where there was just a lot of trauma around it. I was
Mhm.
terrified of existing. I was
Yeah.
terrified of going to hell and burning for eternity. And I just remember
Yeah.
grandmother, she's passed and crossed over now, but I love her. Wonderful person, but
Mm.
very
Yeah.
much putting all of that on me, a lot.
Mhm.
So, I was always the kid that was like, "There's gotta be more. This does not make sense to me.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
cannot tell me that this loving God is gonna throw me in the depths of hell and burn for eternity, and I'm never gonna get out." Like, I would have
Yeah.
nightmares. That's pure trauma, you know? So,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So, now I'm deconstructing that within my belief system and saying, "Okay, what did Jesus really teach?" And like, what
Yeah.
does that mean for me? Because, for me, it's totally different than it is for you or, the next
Yeah.
person. So
Exactly.
it's been a lot of that in the last year, just being like, okay, taking it back to religion a lot more and breaking that.
Mm.
Oh, that's why I found you. And I'm like, everything that you say, I'm like, because I don't know the Bible. Like, I was definitely super pushed into Christianity, but I never really read the Bible, Like,
Mhm.
I'm from a little country town in North Carolina,
You were
so
too
it's like,
scared to pick that thing up, let's be fair.
yeah, I mean, and I didn't know what it was saying, and I'm sitting in church, and I'm
You
like, "Well,
just knew
I'm in
you were
church."
going to hell,
Yeah,
maybe.
right, like, I'm in church, so I should be good, right? Like, I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
but then there was that, like,
I think
"Oh, maybe I am not good because I don't know the
mm,
Bible," So
mhm.
it's just a lot, and I've been trying to unpack that, but Anywho, back to Persephone.
No, that's okay. I love some little
It's part
side
of it.
missions
Yeah.
here. It's my
Yeah.
favorite part.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think, some I had somebody on here one day and they were talking about soul contracts and like that really hit different for me because then I was like, "Yes." So your mom your not your mom, but your grandma had to like that was her job. She was supposed to show you that side of things. And
Right.
at the end of the day, we have to see the point is a lot of times we have to feel really icky about things before we're like we have to go to the underworld with Hades,
Yeah,
right?
we do.
We have to be like this feels disgusting in my
Right.
body. I want something different.
Yes, for sure.
And she was just
Mhm.
part of that. She was part of like planting a seed of I'm going to make you feel really gross about this so that you can choose to see it completely differently.
For sure, yeah. And
Yeah.
feeling through those bad feelings, like I was saying earlier, that's really, like, symbolic of her, like, allowing yourself to feel like complete shit,
Mm,
and not say, "Oh, I'm chronically depressed. I just feel like
mhm.
shit," and that's okay. Like, let's just
Yeah.
feel like shit, and then when you allow it, I swear, like, it's totally I mean, my mom diagnosed with
Mhm.
depression, was put on medication and stuff when I was a kid, like, but
Yeah.
now that we talk, I'm like, "You know what, mom? It's okay to feel like shit." And so she'll feel like shit or I'll call her and be like, "I'm feeling like shit."
Yeah.
It's like, that's okay. That's okay to feel
It
that
is
way.
okay.
You
I think
know?
that's the problem is we then shame ourselves and we're like, "Oh, I'm
Right.
not supposed to feel like this. I'm not supposed to sit around and do nothing for a day or 2, or however long you need." And then you're in this cycle of like, what I'm doing is wrong. I shouldn't be doing this thing." And that it just keeps you locked in there. And I've seen it with
It
my
does.
mom too, actually, who has been on antidepressants like my entire
Mhm.
life.
Mhm.
Um And actually, she recently is more into the Christ consciousness side of
Mhm.
things and, like,
Yeah.
has been doing, like, meditation and, like, connecting like, I would say she does kind of like a theta healing kind of thing on her brain, so now whenever she starts feeling depressed, she just goes and she lies down and she, like, meditates and
That's
she gives herself
nice.
as much space.
Yeah.
I'm like, "That's amazing." Like, has she worked through all of her shadows? No, not even
Mhm.
remotely close to that.
Right.
I would say she avoids them like the plague, but, she's come so far that it's like it's
Right.
amazing to witness. It's
Right.
amazing.
Yeah.
But yes, back to Persephone and her beautiful liminal space because
Mhm.
she now becomes queen of 2 things. She become well, queen of the underworld, goddess of the spring. And she has to
Mhm.
move between both, and I think, like, going back to the idea of awakening is not, "Hey, I had 1 ego death, I'm good, we're perfect forever." It's constant. I like, "Oh,
Mhm.
there's this other thing I haven't looked at. Let me take the light that is me and shine it on there," and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I see why I was acting that way towards that person. I see why I'm triggered by what this person said." Um, and it's a constant evolving integration of life. And
Yeah.
she, I think, is a beautiful depiction of that because she doesn't get
Mhm.
to escape, right? And I think
Yeah.
people want ego death to be like, okay, now I escape and everything is love and rainbows and happiness. But she has
Mhm.
to now integrate over and over
Yeah.
again.
Right. For sure, yeah. Birth also is that way, like, when you reach that part of birth where it's like, "I'm dying. I'm actually dying," like,
Yeah.
genuinely, and, in natural childbirth, and you're feeling that feeling of just, like,
Mm.
either kill me or, like, cut the baby, I don't know, I'm done, like, I
Yeah.
can't, and you
Yeah.
realize, like, you have no other choice but to just get through this. And then once you
Yes.
realize it, like and that's in transition, so going back to birth, that's what I always do,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in transition, you're having this, but transition is such a short part of birth, so
Mm.
by the time you're,
Doesn't feel
like
that way.
right, it feels like the longest for sure, but it actually is the shortest, and so once we're like, "Okay, we have to find that fire within and just be like, just power through it."
Mm.
And by the time
Yeah.
you do that, then the baby's coming and, like, it's over. So that's
Yeah.
also really, like, symbolic of Persephone and all of the things with pushing through and integrating and just allowing the pain and the suffering
Yes.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I think that's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah, it
It's
really.
choice too. Like, you can do, like, going to home birth or not home birth or drugs or not drugs, you also get to
Mhm.
choose that too, but,
Right,
um,
right.
I feel like
Yeah.
she gets lost in translation because it's not about darkness versus light, it's really about her living on that threshold. She has to
Mhm,
live awake in a world that is still asleep and that still requires participation. That
mhm,
is the
and
hardest
man,
part,
don't we relate with that? Like, in a lot of ways.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
in the book of Revelation, it's the same thing. It talks about, like, those that are awake or the sealed ones, whatever you call them, they are literally there and they're like, "How long, God? Like, how much
Mhm,
longer?" Because you're sitting here and you're awake and it hurts because everyone around you is asleep. So you have to, like, find this way where you can be alive, like,
right.
fully alive and actually still participate. And I think that's where people really get stuck in an awakening process, is that they wake up to all this corruption, they wake up to all these things, they wake up to fully dismantling identities they can't even imagine, and they're looking around, they're like, "Why are these people still falling for this shit?" And then they get
Mhm,
so overwhelmed by all of this that they, like, start to dissociate from participating in any of it.
mhm,
But if we don't participate in any of it, we don't shift it. And so really is about figuring out uniquely, individually, how we can stay awake and have all the
mm.
downloads and whatever
Yeah.
we're having, however we um communicate, and then also still live. Having the downloads while changing the shitty diaper as well, while having conversations with your husband, while figuring out what you're making for dinner, all of the fun things.
Right. It's so funny too that we both talked about our moms and, like, Demeter and Persephone, like,
Mm,
I just realized that, and, so going back to she goes back to her mother, right?
yeah.
And, then she has to live, like, is that true? She has to live in I said Hades again.
Yeah, no,
Like,
in the devil, yeah, in the
in the
underworld.
devil,
I also
in the
want to say
underworld,
Hades. I
part
think
of the
also
year?
Hades is the underworld in the
Yeah.
Bible, I think, actually, yeah.
Really? So it's
Yeah, I think
referred to
it's
as Hades? Okay.
as Hades, yes. In the
Okay.
Greek
Well,
anyways, yeah.
that
Yeah,
that
that's we
makes
learn
sense
something new
then.
every day. So
Mhm.
it tracks. People will get it.
So, yeah, so she lives partly in the underworld and then
Yep,
partly back with her mother, right?
yep,
That's so
exactly.
crazy. And
It's a
I feel like I
50-50.
feel that too, you know? Wow.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's wild.
is. I talked about Demeter before on another episode because
Mhm.
she's basically like Mother Earth, and she gets really angry at um Hades, and then instead punishes humanity. And now because
Yeah.
she's like the version of you that can't figure out how to live in both, how to have the liminal space, right? Because
Mm.
she then just has a full crash out and is like, "I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do anything here." And then, like,
Mhm.
humanity it's a beautiful
Everyone's
metaphor,
fine.
I think, for us, like, when we crash out and we're like, "No, I'm not gonna, live in this. I'm not gonna participate," and we don't wanna do anything, and then we start treating people around us like shit, that ripples out, right? Like, we don't realize how individually our own individual nervous systems make a difference on the collective, because if
Right.
I'm able to take a calm breath and be like, "Okay, what am I feeling? How do I meet it? How
Mhm.
do I still move through this emotion, this whatever's happening to me right now?" And then
Mhm.
when I meet my husband or my child or whatever throughout my day, I can still meet them with love and presence. And then they have a better day because of it, versus like if I have a crash out and now I'm a bitch to everyone, and then
Mhm.
everyone else has already seen mommy the bitch. And so now they're
Yeah,
treating everyone else like that. It ripples out for sure.
it does. It really does. That's true. I have noticed that.
Yeah. Yeah. It can
Yeah.
be quite the thing. Yeah. So that's Persephone. I feel like she's
Mhm.
fully like, she's the embodiment of what it feels like to have to be awake and still
Mhm.
participate. You still gotta
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's sovereign, right? Because she knew she made the choice, she ate
Mhm.
the pomegranate seed, and now she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna live in this liminal space." And like I said, awakening is like living in that space forever,
Yeah.
you know? I think just you start to spend more time in the spring than you do in hell.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
But
that is great. She's one of the most powerful, like, in my opinion. I mean, I haven't done enough research on it, and I feel like as I go on through
mm.
my journey, I'll probably end up feeling the same way about someone else, like, because we
Yeah.
have these types within us, so, I mean, but right now she's just
Yeah.
so relevant to me, so,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think every time I find a new one, I do like a zoom out and I'm like, "Oh, I've seen this in my own life. Like this is how," and then I see it in my own life and I can see it in the collective and then it's so fun. I think you're right. Like we literally have infinite archetypes living within us, just
Mhm.
surviving, you know?
And it's
There
just
are
the part of life, yeah, the whatever part of life you're
yeah.
really seeing it as you're
Yeah,
integrating, because and it wasn't
exactly.
until I was able to integrate a lot that I, really saw this stuff, so
Yeah. I do think she's a beautiful representation of like continued awakening though, because
Mhm.
it's a dance that you're constantly living in
So much.
and it's so fun. I do still though have, every once in a while where it just gets a little too overwhelming. I have a good crash out Demeter moment. So
Yeah,
I think
same. Yeah, for
that's
sure.
okay. The question is when you crash out, can you take a step back later on and be like, okay, let me meet that
Yeah.
piece of myself that was ignored for a few days and then crashed out in front of everyone? Can I meet it with love? Can I meet it with
Yeah,
compassion?
yeah,
Instead of
and I
shame,
forgive
because if you meet it
myself
with
for that.
shame,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
you
If we
really
meet
do
it with
have
shame, it
to.
just keeps going. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
want to ask when you think about Persephone,
yeah.
we already know. I feel like all of the parts. I think we've kind of already answered this, but what part of her story then feels like resonates most for you that has happened in your life or continues to keep happening?
Probably just being thrust into the underworld, like,
Yeah,
initially, because
the initial one
that's hard, and then, like,
is
I
because it's
mean, and then
unexpected.
over and over, So it's like
Yeah.
that first time that you feel like you're thrust into that, and it's like,
Mm,
okay, it's the most shocking, and then once you're able to
yeah.
continue to do work on yourself and, like, feel these things, then you're like, "Okay, it's getting a little easier to go there,"
Mm,
because it's like, "Okay, I know I've done
you
this
expect
before."
it. You know. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, the beginning of my awakening was very much a lot of just, like, actually physically feeling like I was dying. I was the one that was like,
Mm,
"I'm actually
you were
physically dying.
having
Heart
yeah.
my heart is gonna stop, and my body is shutting
Mm,
down, and, I'm having
yeah.
the" it was just a lot. It was a lot. And then that got easier because, I mean, I even recently, probably a few weeks ago, ended up like laying in bed, and it was after doing like some journaling I had done the day before, and I just come
Mhm.
to all these realizations, and then I'm like, then I had a really deep discussion with my husband, and I'm like,
I love
the
him.
next day I'm in bed like all I wasn't sick. I was just like
Mm,
in bed, and I could feel that same like feeling of like my body was trying to shut down. Like I felt that very first,
yeah.
and so I'm like, well, I know what this is. I think that I'm
Mhm.
genuinely feeling physically my ego death, like in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So it was easier for me to cope with it because I was like, well, just allow yourself
I've
to
felt
feel.
this before. Yeah.
Yeah, just allow it to like actually rest, take care of yourself, realize it's gonna lighten and just really feel through
Mhm.
this. It's definitely what's happening. And I could tell. So
Mhm.
luckily, luckily I've been there a couple times before. So um
Yeah.
and she probably just got to where she was like, well, she took it as like a sacred type thing to
Yeah.
go back and then be able to in both equally, like, in the spring, on Earth, and then going back
Yeah.
to Underworld, she looked at it both probably eventually as like, "This is sacred." you
It is
know,
sacred.
as I'm
Yeah.
going down here, it's like, it's
The
needed,
first
it's
time is
sacred.
not sacred. No.
It's not the first time. It's traumatizing and
Yeah.
stressful. Yeah, but so that very first time of her going, that was the most important for me, like, for my
Hmm.
I needed that. I needed to be taken to those depths of myself to even
Yeah.
get anywhere close to where I am.
I agree with that. I also agree with like the symptoms. I feel like my ego death, I have micro ego deaths all the time, I feel like.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, but as soon as I started seeing them as that, like seeing a trigger as like, okay, a trigger is an opportunity for me to go in and meet a part of myself. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, bring the triggers on. And then as soon as I started, it was very easy for me because I was like, okay, this is just me learning to really meet myself, to find myself. And then once you can start meeting yourself, you can start meeting other people without expectation, without trying to shift them, without trying to change them. But Juan and
Exactly.
I have talked about what you said, which is like the physical aspect, because when either of us is like in the middle of like a very large identity release or quantum leap, quantum shift, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
we have the symptoms. Like when I think about, I've always been very connected to we did a podcast episode on like our joint podcast around our awakenings. So for anyone listening that wants to, they can go and listen to that. But basically, I kind of now look at my first awakening as like my first interaction with God being when I was 9 and I should have
Mhm.
died because I had rare cancer
Oh,
then
wow.
and I didn't. And we won't get into like the full thing of it, but that was my first
Mhm.
like God's got my back. Not only that, like at 9 I was like I'm not going to die. I'm going to be fine. It's cool. We're good. Um and having that experience of, like, such a loving God was, like, the
Mhm.
first, "Okay, this something's different," and then being in church and it was just meh, and then I look back and the last 10 years of my life have really been just about listening to the God within me and being guided
Mhm.
to do this and to do that and just doing what I was like, didn't make sense to do from up here, but my body was like, "Go do that thing, it's exciting, go do it," and I would just
Yeah.
leap. I would just do it.
Mhm.
Um, but then this last like real unraveling was April. I like was like, okay, I'm giving up everything. I'm giving like I could feel I was on this cusp because my husband and I had been arguing and I started meditating more and I could feel like God was like telling me you're going to do something else. And then I'm like, but I'm bodybuilding right now and I'm like doing all this awesome stuff and I have all these awesome clients and I'm trying to do everything. I'm trying to do the like literally eating almost 4,000 calories a day while like
Wow.
working out like a beast and like
Yeah.
I've got all my clients and then I'm also meditating like twice a day because like this is a thing that I'm like this is a priority to me, like spending this quality time with God because like I say meditation but it's like very much like anyways, I
Mhm.
I crash out. My nervous system crashed. I'm crying on the kitchen floor. I'm like I have to give up one of these and I'm like okay, I'm giving up my entire identity. Like I'm giving
Yeah.
up everything that I am right now and then the
Mhm.
next day, I have a vision with Jesus, and that shifted everything. I like literally snapped into downloads immediately. Like I'm just like walking down the river and having like knowings just come in that don't make sense,
Wow.
and it
Yeah.
was insane. But that like probably a week after that, because it was like your body's already all the things are going on, right? Like your body's already holding all this tension because you're releasing traumas, you're releasing toxins into the body, and your body's got to process them through. Like that's
Mhm.
literally what like our body is storing toxins as
Mhm.
emotions and everything, and then you're releasing them. And I have like a full nervous system crash out. Like my mouth is like full canker sores. I'm so exhausted. Like I can't
Wow.
even like get out of bed.
Mhm.
And since then, thankfully, it's also been, I don't know if it's because I am an empath and sometimes I end up transmuting things for others, specifically my
Mhm.
husband. We love him.
Yeah.
Um, but there have been a couple times where I process like a big thing from him and I end up like vomiting and migraines in bed for a few hours. And then I
Yeah.
wake up and I'm fine. It's like nothing happened. It's really weird. But
Mhm.
yes, to the physical symptoms because
Yeah.
that can be part of the process. I think sometimes when we identify with that though, Like, it's also,
Mhm.
like, knowing that, hey, if that happens, you can, like, click and be like, "Oh, I think maybe I'm just, like, moving through a thing," instead of being
Mhm.
like, "I only move through an ego death when I have these symptoms," because then you're looking for the symptoms and you're literally calling them in, and I think there's a little bit of out there in the spiritual communities, there is a little bit of, like, a very, I would say, trauma bonding around that where, every time you see a solar flare, everybody's like, "You can expect this symptom and that symptom and this symptom," and you're like,
Right. It's
or you
huge,
could
yeah.
just be living in the flow, and you
Mhm. I'm
can
like, "But I
expect
don't feel
whatever's meant to
that." And
you.
then I'm like, "But I feel it." It's like, "No." Like, it
No. I
it
mean,
does take away
sometimes I
from your
do, but it
it
takes
takes
away from
away
your
from
own.
sovereignty. Yeah, for
Yes,
yourself.
exactly,
I have
exactly.
realized that. Yeah. A lot of
So
the
we
spiritual people I've followed for a long time. I mean, I've gone through the whole, like, Dolores Cannon, Abraham Hicks, like, I've done
mm,
all of that stuff and,
yeah,
you know, who resonates with me online, and, like, since I've started to really hone in more on shadow work, I'm kinda like, some of these people, not necessarily them that I mentioned, but, like, people that
yeah.
follow, I don't know, like, it's just a lot. It's a lot.
I think
But
I said
everybody's on
this
a different path.
exactly, and we're all
Yeah,
just, like,
so
waking up pieces of other people, we're all just, like,
exactly.
witnessing each other, and it's beautiful, and I think, like I've
Mhm.
said before in reels and stuff, we're all meant to evolve past the people that we were like, "Oh, I got this awesome piece of information from," because that's the point, is, like, they expand
Mhm.
something in you, but they're not supposed to expand all the things in you, and we're just,
Right.
like, constantly evolving and moving through, and that's beautiful. Going back to
Mhm.
Dolores Cannon, though, I found a
Mhm.
practitioner locally and did a QHHT session,
You
and
did? How did that go?
if you would like to be unraveled fully in the span of a day, let me tell you, it was, like, literally, like, 24 hours of therapy. Or, like,
Oh.
I would say 25 years if you would, like, put stretch it out in your life. It was like a full lifetime of therapy in one day. It was what it
Wow.
was. It was a
I
lot.
know a UADHD practitioner, but he doesn't live here, so it would be like a virtual thing, and
Mm.
I don't
I feel
know if
like it
that.
has to be in person for that kinda
Yeah,
thing.
that's kinda
'Cause,
what I
like,
feel.
even the way the energy shifted when I got into the room where I was doing the thing because they're very, like, intentional about, what their room looks like, what's in the room, how it feels, the scents and everything, like, you just automatically go into, like, parasympathetic. I feel like it wouldn't be the same if I had tried to do it at home. And it was
Mhm,
a
yeah.
wild ride. I literally unpacked how I gave myself cancer. So, we won't even go into it,
Really?
but it was wild. Essentially, it was somebody in my past life that was also in this life, and they left. They had told me that they were going to leave, like, a few months before I had cancer, and I had
Mhm.
finally gotten this person back in this lifetime, and I, like, fully crashed out and was so angry that I stored all this anger and resentment, and then bam, cancer is basically it in a nutshell. That's not giving it enough context, but yeah,
Wow. I really
yeah,
wanna do
so wild.
now. Now you've got me really and it's so hard because where I live, like, that's I even thought about trying to become one because I'm like, I know that
Yeah,
no one but I still need someone
nobody's
else
doing it.
probably for
Yeah,
me. Yeah, I've heard a
yeah,
lot of great things about it, so
it's very interesting. I was surprised because I also live in the middle of nowhere, Canada.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Maybe
I
I could
live like, there are the closest town because we live, like, kind of in the middle of nowhere, has 4,000 people, um,
okay.
and the town that my daughter's going to school in right now has, like, 2,000 normally. So, like,
Oh,
we
you
live,
relate.
like
You relate with
no, I
me on
don't
that.
relate, but when I looked on the website and I was like, "Oh my god, there's somebody half an hour away, I'm doing it. Let's do it." And I do not regret it at all. I feel like I also made a beautiful friend out of it because she was so amazing, and, like, we text back and forth now.
That is
So,
awesome. Yeah, I
yeah,
love that. Big
yeah,
life changer, Dolores Cannon, big, big life changer for me. It
yeah,
taught me a lot about everything, started my which,
mm,
then I got into her, I got into Abraham Hicks more so within the self is more so kinda how
mhm,
I feel like Abraham Hicks teaches, and then
yeah,
Dolores Cannon was kinda like what's around us and what's out there and what.
mhm.
and then I tried to
The
like integrate
field, yeah.
to but
I think
yeah,
it is an integration of both. It's like we
mhm,
are the world is a projection of our inner world. So it's like it's
yeah,
both definitely. I've had
yeah,
people come into my awareness that like full out call out these big names and they're like they're fake and I'm like I would even when somebody disagrees with me, I try to make
mhm,
a video that's very like, let me teach you the lesson of why this person doesn't resonate with me without pointing
yeah,
out the person or whatever, because it's not my business to tell you not to resonate with a certain person because they don't resonate with me. And so to me, that just feels so icky. People that are
yeah.
making their entire platform about calling people out because they don't agree with them. And
No.
I'm like, especially
And
the
we're
spiritual
all on
world.
different levels of consciousness. Like realizing that is huge if people would actually realize it. Like I even said that the other day because I had so many people fighting about vaccines on my
Mm.
and I'm like, bro, I'm like, oh my goodness, all these people are
Get
trying to
it? Don't get
convince
it? I don't care. Tell me, don't tell me. Also, don't care. Is where I'm at.
doesn't matter. Like these are so I'm like, you're wasting so much time trying to convince people of what you
Yeah.
believe because they're not gonna see it the way that you want them to see it because they're on a different level of
Yeah.
consciousness, and that's fine, like
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
don't even
yeah.
call them out and like they're less than you because you're saying they're on a different level of consciousness because that's a whole thing too. It's like, well, they're not as good, I'm better, like, no.
I'm
It's
awake,
just
you're not.
everybody
Yeah. I think
yeah,
we
like
all go through that. It's like levels of like releasing pride, I think. Because
mhm.
it is definitely it's the
I
back
was
and
definitely
forth.
prideful at the beginning too, when I first started. I was like, "Oh, I do," and that caused a clash between my husband and I because he was on a different wavelength than I was. He
Mm,
was learning it differently than me, and so then when I would talk about all these things and I would be like, "I know, it's a knowing," and he's like he would
yeah.
get upset and be like, "You don't know everything," and I would be like, "I kinda do." Like, it's
I
the
kind of
way that I
I know what
carry
I meant to know right now, and that's all that matters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was a struggle for a little while, but I feel like now
Mhm.
I've realized that I was doing that, like I mean, I guess I was
Yeah.
trying to step into my sovereignty and be like,
Yeah.
"Well, I know what
I
I
know.
know,
Yeah.
that's my story, that's my truth, so
That's the
maybe it was
first step.
fair."
I also think that, like, also coming to the realization that these people, like you they're out there putting these, what you would call negative things out there, and I
Mhm.
definitely was so frustrated with that, like, just on a political level here, I feel like.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Um And I'm like, why are you like causing even more separation and fear just by posting this stuff, right?
I
But
know.
I've
I
come to the realization, and I actually sent this woman a message because she actually used to trigger me, and I was like, keep doing what you're doing because you're out there sharing your truth, and it's speaking to somebody, you know. And I think that that's where what I really have come to the realization of is like we are all meant to be speaking that truth, but without identifying with it, like being like, this is
Mhm.
that's where we go wrong. That's where pride steps in, is we're like, this is what I believe, but you have to believe it too. But
You have to
actually,
prove it to yeah.
you don't. I don't need you to believe what I'm saying for me to know that it's true. And that's where
Mhm.
we all need to get to, because then we can bridge the gap, because then we can have these beautiful conversations like we're having
Mhm.
now, where we're like, oh, like we don't necessarily agree on everything, but we can sit here and have a conversation and be like, this is how I feel, and you can be
Right.
like, this is how I feel, and then we're like, okay, yeah, like I see that, I can see. And that's where like yoga and namaste is like I buy my the divine within me bows to the divine within you, and that's how we live in harmony, is where the
Yeah,
Christ within me sees the Christ within you.
right.
But you
100%.
can't force somebody to do that. I think that's where I really
Mhm.
realized is like I can offer people this sovereignty. And so now
Yeah.
I'm like, can I really live from this place that knows I'm in the liminal place, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to trigger somebody. And when they get triggered and they comment on a video of mine, can I be like, I see where you're coming from. May you find what you're looking for on your path. You know, can I just offer them sovereignty to be like, hey, I witnessed what you said. I see what you said. We're all on beautiful, unique paths, and that's that.
Mhm.
And just walk away, give them an and a lot of people won't take that, but they might feel that little uncomfortable
Mhm.
sovereignty.
Yeah.
And then one day
Mhm.
come back and be like, "Oh, I remember that day where I felt kind of like somebody didn't argue with me. That felt weird in my body. That felt bad actually because I'm used to fighting."
Yeah.
And that's all we're really meant to do is like offer that little bit of sovereignty.
Right. Yeah, I definitely went through, you know, all of the things before I got to where I am now because I was doing the I
Uh,
was arguing. I went through a, with politics, and then now I'm like extremely neutral and I'm just like it doesn't
yeah.
matter. Like, I don't know.
Everything is neutral. That's where I'm at. I think I had to take
Yeah.
radical responsibility. And I
Yes.
had to
Yeah.
witness going back to the vaccine thing. I've said this before, I think, on a podcast, but when COVID hit here, like it was like there where they were trying to push this vaccine through, blah, 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 blah. All
Mhm.
right. Um,
Mhm.
and I see a lot of people around me that are so mad about that. Like they didn't get it and they're still so mad at the government for doing this thing. And I
Mhm.
got it at the time. I got it
Mhm.
because my dad had had a stroke and he was in the hospital.
Mhm.
And I was like, I want to be with my dad. Right. So I
Yeah.
don't care what might happen because I want to be with my dad. And I made that sovereign choice to be like, sure, it's not fair, but if I'm choosing my dad or not my dad, that is still my
Mhm.
choice.
Right.
And so
Right.
I chose the thing. And
Mhm.
even knowing all of the things that came out afterwards, if I had to go back in, in a
You would change
hot
that.
tub time
Yeah.
machine, I wouldn't change it. I would do the
Mhm.
same thing. Right. And I think
Right.
some people have that, like, I know a few people that lost people that they loved during that time period that they weren't able to be with in the hospital, and they
Mhm.
blame the government for that. But I'm like,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
take radical responsibility because I had a choice. My dad could have been alone for 6 months, and maybe he would have died because he was alone for 6 months. And
Right.
I chose to get the vaccine and go and sit in the hospital every single day for 6 months. And
So that he was.
if I had to, so that he wouldn't be alone and he's still
Mhm.
here. And so I would choose it again. I would, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
And if you think I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to
If you
say, going back to radical responsibility, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And if you think about, like, quantum stuff, like
Mm,
quantum you're going on that level of things, you kinda change the frequency of that energy
yes.
just by giving it that type of intention before you got it.
Yeah.
So, that was a whole thing too where people were just like, "Oh, it's bad, or it's bad, or it's good." But, like, you can literally
The
change the
frequency of
frequency of what you're
anything.
eating
Yes.
and drinking, like,
Oh, she's so cute. Yeah.
"Hi."
Hello. You just wanted mommy. I get it. Um,
He's like, "Why
yeah,
are
I
you up
agree.
here?
I
Why are you upstairs talking?"
yeah.
Anyway.
Why are you up here, mom? I totally agree with you because I think that the intention, there's consent and sovereignty. That's where sovereignty lives. I feel like let's talk Persephone for a quick second. We can end with
Yeah,
this before,
sure.
but Persephone in the quantum field is coming to that realization that you have absolute sovereignty, right? You get to live in the eco death moments in the underworld, and still from this place of seeing everything, now you're like, oh wait, I get to consent energetically to what I want in my own field, like in my
Mhm.
immediate field. I think we get
Right.
overwhelmed because we see the collective and we're like, look at this happening, look at that happening. But I cannot consent to these things. I can choose not to put that into my awareness and be like, that's not a thing that's happening. And then
Right.
it doesn't come into my immediate awareness. And that sounds crazy, but that's
Mhm.
literally like if you think of karma on a quantum level, that's what it is. It's neutral. Karma is always neutral. It's cause and effect. What am I consenting to? What am I not consenting to? And how is that going to manifest itself in my field? And then you get
Right.
to make these sovereign choices and
Mhm.
you get to be like, this is how I'm showing up for this relationship. This is how I'm showing up for this. I'm choosing not to have fear. And I think at the end of the day, like really waking up to being in the matrix or whatever you want to call it. There's this next level of like, I'm awake. Now I need to find my way to sovereignty. Now I need to
Mm.
find my way to like who Persephone was, which was the ability to be awake and also be participating in
Right.
here.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the
But
beauty is coming from this sovereign place, and I think, thank you so much for joining us today because we learned a lot. We learned that
yeah,
Persephone maybe isn't sometimes we think she's here to teach us how to escape, but she is not, just like Jesus wasn't here to teach us how to, like, escape. He's not the scapegoat. But
right,
she's definitely here to she teaches us how to walk between the worlds without splitting ourselves, right?
right, for sure, yeah, she
And she
does,
gets to she I think she reminds us that awakening is truly integration. It's not a
for
one-time
sure.
thing,
Mhm,
that rebirth is seasonal, it's happening all the time.
mhm,
And I think nature often is telling us it's telling us the keys to many things. And when you look at how nature works, it's telling us, hey, you're gonna have to do this over and over again. So get used to it.
mhm. I know,
Yeah.
and it's like, again, in birth, like, you have this dread, or a lot of people do.
Mhm.
I know I did, and a lot of people I talk to do, but, like, a
Absolutely.
almost a dread for birth. So it's like, "Oh, I'm happy being pregnant," or maybe not, but, like,
Mhm.
I have this just feeling of dread that I have to go through this, and I
Yeah.
felt it really strong with her, and I'm like, "Man, I do not wanna have to go through this again, but I have to," like,
Yeah.
and it's just
Have
a
to
really
do it. Yeah.
good, yeah, it's a
Can't just
good,
keep her in there, unfortunately, once you start cooking her.
yeah,
There's no
you
turning
gotta go
back.
through it. Uh-huh, and so that's kinda like that. It's also symbolic, like, that's how it goes. We have to
Yeah.
we have to go through these things, and it's not gonna stop. Like,
Mhm.
even though we learn everything, we've done all
Mhm.
the Carl Jung work, and we've shadow
Yeah.
work, and we've just done everything, we still are not, scotch free. Like, we still have to go through more.
It yeah.
It's not gonna be over while we're in this human experience, and it's
I
just
don't think it will, no, but I think it's like or at least how I've experienced it, whether you're looking at atonement or integration or embodiment, it's like it happens faster. You get the trigger, and in the moment, you
Mhm,
take the breath, you witness the part of you that needs to be held, and it's actually like a 15-second process. And then you meet the person in front of you with love and compassion because you quickly met yourself with that. And I
for
think it's
sure.
more like the integration process, the part that you spend in the underworld with Hades is just, it's quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah, it does get easier and quicker for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
once you learn those coping skills, like the
Yes.
breathing, like,
I was gonna
really
ask, what's your favorite coping mechanism that's not
no,
dissociative?
I I say breathing, but, like, honestly, I have a hard time with breath work a lot of times because my
Mm,
body to reject it. I'll just be like,
yeah.
deep breaths, and, like, one of my kids is on the spectrum, so I'm trying,
Mm,
and he's, like, a big teacher for me. And, like, one of his things is just, like, outbursts and screaming and like I mean, like, anger, aggression,
yeah.
so it's like for a long time, I think he relates. He's kinda like, this breathing stuff is like, I feel like I just need to scream," and I'm like, "Well, maybe you just need to scream," and so that's a challenge because it's like, how do you actually cope? Because the breathing's not working for you, and then I even feel my body reject at work. So do you just fully step into that and let that anger out and just, it's like,
Mm,
cause, and he's so little. So it's like, how to, and going but to him, I kind of got off of myself here, but like,
no, that's okay.
yeah, he kind of shows me like, maybe this is like a good way to teach me that I need to just allow myself more of that anger. Like, it's,
Mm,
like, I've done a lot
yeah.
of in my shadow work, learned that as a young girl, like, the way that my worth was, like, being pretty and being quiet
Mm,
and just, like, and that was what was accepted for, and nothing else was accepted, so, like, I feel like my son is in my life to show me, like,
how old is he?
he's 5, and he's mostly nonverbal, and
Yeah.
he's learning how
I
to
don't
talk, but
I don't know if this is gonna help you or not, but I had a
Mhm.
knowing come in a while back around autism and the
Uh-huh.
idea that it's actually, like, where we're transitioning to, where humanity is going to because they come more tapped into the field of
I feel
consciousness.
yeah, I feel that too.
Yeah.
So it's
I
more
feel
so
like
like how humanity can get used to that type of behavior and that being the new norm,
mm,
as opposed to like, oh, let's teach them how to adapt to how we are. I feel that for sure.
I also think, like, the way I've started, like, the pattern recognition and the zooming out and, like, how I can just, like, I'll have an experience and then I see it from myself, I see it from my partner, I see it from the field, I see it from, like, the collective patterns, and I'm like, "I've literally become autistic at this point," is where
Yeah.
like, if I go and I get tested, I guarantee I don't need the label, so I don't care,
I
but
feel that
I'm
as
just
well.
like, "Okay, like, this is they are coming so much more tapped into the field, whether it's feeling, whether it's through felt sense, whether it's through seeing things differently, that they have to learn how to communicate differently." Like,
Yeah.
and I think whatever form of neurodivergency that my 4-year-old has, she probably has something for sure. Like, she
For
definitely has
sure.
big outbursts and
Mhm.
big emotions. I have found, though, with her, it's been actually quite good to teach her how to do breath work. So we just, like,
Okay.
sit and do breathing together, and then when she has big emotions, yes, letting her feel them, like, we roar like lions, and we, like, punch
Yeah,
things
right.
and, like, beds
Right.
can punch thing, you know? Um,
Yeah.
but making them
Yes.
feel safe enough that they're like, "Yeah, I get to feel this in its entirety," and then I get once I feel it in its entirety, I get to keep moving because that's literally
Mhm.
how we're meant to be.
For sure. Yeah. And in the world wants us to just be quiet and be,
Mhm.
adaptive and just like what's the word
Exactly.
for? I think there's a better word, but
Compliant, obedient.
compliant, obedient. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's not how it's really going to be in the future. Like maybe that's
No.
as the earth is ascending to a new frequency, it's going to be more like autistic
Well,
people, or
no, I do think that that's the case, right? I think it's like a lot of us are waking up, and I've had people point this out before where they're like, "Are you just like all getting the same script and you have to all say the same thing? And like there's some
oh
secret
god.
society running you?" Because I've seen like 3 or 4 videos that have very similar themes and like wording even. And I was like, no, we're just all tapped into the same fields, right? Like when you're now tapped into that same level of awareness or consciousness or like that same quantum field, you're
Mhm.
all tapped into the same information that lives there at the same time. Right?
Right.
Whether it's like I'm knowing something, I'm having a vision and whatever, and like we're all interpreting it slightly different through our own lived experiences, but we're all connected to that same field. And I feel like if we want to move into New Earth or if we want to move into 5D, whatever people are calling it, then we need
Mhm.
to start embodying that. We need to start trusting those weird things that are coming in. We need to
Yeah.
start living from that field, living from the I
Mhm.
am. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That makes
So,
sense.
yes. Thank you so much for being here. It was very fun.
Yeah. It was really fun. Thank you for having me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We should do it
Yeah.
again.
We should definitely do it again. Next time you're what's the next tattoo after this? We'll plan it together.
It depends on where I am within myself at the time, but I'll let you know because I'm sure it'll be I'm
Just
trying to
every
feel my
time you're about to
archetype.
get a tattoo, you just send me a message. Okay, so we need to record a podcast episode of
Probably like
this.
feel like Demeter right now or Aphrodite or something like
Yes. No, I will be doing I will
yeah.
be going through many more. So yes, if an archetype comes into your awareness and you're like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
want to talk about this. Let's do it." Just send me a message. It was
Yeah.
lovely. It was lovely witnessing this story unfold in real time between you, between me, in you, in my life, all of this beautiful stuff. And
Yes.
I invite anybody who is listening, if Persephone is calling to you, maybe it's not about becoming her, it's just about recognizing that you already are in that liminal space.
For
So thank
sure.
you. I love you, and
Mhm.
I'll see
Thank
everyone
you.
in the next spiral.
Yes. Okay. Bye.